at the podium are four of Missoula's community leaders who I have gotten to know very well over the last several years. I respect these men immensely. These leaders have shown great courage implementing necessary changes in sexual assault policies and training here in Missoula. They are true agents of change because each recognize that the old way of investigating sexual assault was not the best way. Today, under new protocols, victims are heard, they are not blamed, and they are no longer stereotyped. These four leaders work together to ensure, through new comprehensive policies implemented by Missoula Police Department, the University of Montana, and the University of Montana Police Department, that law enforcement and the university community will no longer fail victims of sexual assault. But these new policies will benefit all victims and enhance public safety. Today, Missoula, as a community, is safer. And I'm proud to share the podium with Mayor John Engen, Chief Mike Brady, Captain Mike Collier, and President Royce Engstrom. And one thing I've learned about these leaders is that they love this town and they love this community as much as the citizens love Missoula. Over the last couple of years, together they have worked tirelessly to bring needed reform to how sexual assaults are investigated by law enforcement here. Because of the vision, the diligent work, and unwavering resolve of your community leaders, Missoula is a different place. It is safer, and it is a stronger community. It goes without saying that rape is a horribly violent crime with devastating consequences to the victim. Whether the rape is committed by an acquaintance or a stranger, victims find themselves in a very, very dark place. When DOJ demonstrated that gender bias was undermining Missoula's law enforcement response to sexual assault, both the Missoula Police and the University of Montana immediately agreed to a broad set of fundamental changes that began to dramatically improve their ability to protect victims of sexual assault. These reforms have made the Missoula Police Department more accountable, transparent, and credible. With accountability, transparency, and credibility comes community trust. Today, the Missoula Police Department is stronger and trusted. Indeed, Missoula, the community, is a model for every town in this nation to emulate. Before turning the podium over to others, I want to thank all of the survivors of sexual assault who have shown the profound strength and courage to step forward and speak out to make sure that all sexual assault victims are protected by the laws. Also, I want to commend Mayor Engen, Chief Brady, Captain Collier, and the men and women in the Missoula Police Department, and President Engstrom, all university personnel, and all of the community partners who have worked tirelessly to effect the necessary changes in the culture of this community and who work so hard to make Missoula a safer place. You all have much to be proud of. Through your office, you have fostered a community of trust. Thank you. Vanita?
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for your extraordinary leadership throughout this case and for your unwavering commitment to the service to the people of Montana. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to just start also by thanking President Engstrom and Mayor Engen for your truly historic leadership. And of course, we are grateful to Chief Mike Brady for taking on this amazing and yet challenging opportunity and so ably leading the men and women of the Missoula Police Department in their transformation under this agreement. Now, as we gather here today to recognize the good work of the Missoula Police Department, we are actually also recognizing police officers across the country during National Police Week this week. It is important to remember the sacrifices that officers and their families make every day. And sometimes it is the ultimate sacrifice, as we saw over the weekend in Mississippi and last week in New York. We all owe a debt of gratitude to the brave men and women in law enforcement who serve and protect us every day across the country. And also today, we recognize and honor the survivors of sexual assault who had the courage to make their voices heard and change the path forward for this community. And we recognize and honor the many other leaders of the Missoula community who join us today and who have taken significant steps, large and small, to address and prevent sexual assault. In short, this community has come together to institute long-term systemic change to protect and ensure the safety of generations to come, and we are here to acknowledge that and to celebrate it. Today, I am very happy and very honored to join these leaders in announcing a success story. The Missoula, Montana Police Department has fully implemented its agreement with the Department of Justice to improve the police department's response to sexual assault. The independent reviewer has determined, and the DOJ has agreed, that the Missoula Police Department has successfully implemented all of the reforms that are set forth in the MPD agreement with the Department of Justice. The DOJ entered into the agreement with the MPD in May of 2013 as part of a multi-pronged and integrated investigation into the response to sexual assault by the Missoula Police Department, the county attorney, and the University of Montana, including its campus police force. The MPD agreement sought to institute improvements to police department policies and procedures that would promote effective, non-discriminatory law enforcement and support for the community. MPD's implementation of the agreement has resulted in a whole host of noteworthy improvements to the Missoula response to sexual assault, and I'm going to list a couple of them now. Creation of a new special victims unit in the Missoula Police Department, including 5 detectives and 1 supervisor, focusing on sex crimes cases, and an interview room specifically designed for interviews with victims of sexual assault. Extensive specialized training for first responders and detectives in the response to sexual assault. Development and institution of an external review board among the first of its kind to review closed sexual assault cases for the comprehensiveness of the investigation and indications of gender bias. Completion of an audit of the community-wide response to sexual assault, one of the first community audits to focus exclusively on sexual assault, including all of the key law enforcement agencies, advocacy organizations, and medical service providers serving victims of sexual assault in Missoula County. Community advocates reported better communication and coordination with local law enforcement than ever before, and victim surveys indicating significant satisfaction with police officers and detectives' treatment of victims reporting sexual assault to law enforcement. The MPD's successful implementation of this agreement in just 2 years really shows that reform can happen when government, police, and community leaders do the difficult work together to create change. There is no question that the kind of reform required to effectively respond to sexual assault can be very difficult. And although there is always room for improvement, even within the best departments, the change that MPD and the city of Missoula have achieved as part of its agreement with the Civil Rights Division is real, and it is making a very significant difference. Today, Missoula law enforcement and the community as a whole are stronger as a result of the MPD's efforts. We know that MPD is committed to continuing to improve and evolve, as every law enforcement agency should, and to sustaining the reforms that they've achieved, to continue to work with their law enforcement and community partners to improve the response to sexual assault. Indeed, really throughout this process, the police department has been working hand in hand with its law enforcement and community partners, including the University of Montana and its campus police department. The end of this agreement with the MPD marks the completion of one of the 4 agreements stemming from the department's unprecedented multi-pronged investigation, which we launched in May of 2012, into allegations that the University of Montana, Missoula, the University of Montana Police Department, the Missoula Police Department, and the Missoula County Attorney's Office discriminated against victims by failing to respond adequately to reports of sexual assault. The changes instituted by the police department are no doubt strengthened by the collaboration between each of these partners. This multi-pronged approach to combating sexual assault from the campus to the courthouse door used all of our applicable civil rights laws, Title IX, Title IV, the Safe Streets Act, and Section 14141, and was unparalleled in its scope. And experience has shown us that coordinated and informed community responses to sexual assault are more likely to produce better outcomes. If one or more of these entities is not meeting its civil rights obligations, it negatively impacts the ability of the other entities to effectively respond to reports of sexual assault and the willingness of victims to report. The agreements are leading to reform at every stage of the criminal justice system and in the university system, and enabling Missoula to more effectively protect victims on campus and throughout the criminal justice process. Now, although today we are only announcing the end of one agreement, Thanks to the leadership of folks like Mayor Engen, Chief Brady, and President Engstrom, as well as countless community leaders across the city of Missoula and on the campus of the University of Montana, we can report significant progress on all of the outstanding agreements. They are all sequenced at different times, so we know that we have more work to do on some areas, but we are very pleased with the progress. The DOJ agreements have been a catalyst for powerful and positive change in Missoula's collective response to sexual assault. And for example, the agreements have brought about more effective communication and coordination between the different law enforcement partners in their responses to sexual assault, including campus police, the city police, and prosecutors, as well as between law enforcement and victim advocates. As indicated by an increase in the number of reports of sexual assault to the city police and the results of a recent survey of victims who had reported sexual assault to law enforcement, victims of sexual assault in Missoula feel better supported and have greater confidence and trust in reporting assault to the city police. And through steps like increasing specialized training, improved policies, and the development of a special victims unit within the Missoula Police Department, the city police has very quickly and significantly improved its expertise and effectiveness in responding to sexual assault. The university and its campus police also entered in an agreement with the DOJ in May of 2013 and have made very significant strides in addressing and preventing sexual assault on campus. We've been working closely and cooperatively with the university to implement the terms of the agreement and long-lasting reforms to address the problems that we found in our investigation. And although there is still some work to be done under the agreements and toward our collective goal of a safe and supportive campus for all students, the university has made tremendous changes that inspire confidence in effectuating long-lasting reforms. These reforms include replacing numerous confusing university policies addressing sexual assault with a single policy that is comprehensive, that is easy to understand, and that is consistent with the requirements of Title IX and Title IV. They've been conducting training for all employees, including specialized training for investigators and first responders. They've been conducting trainings and other educational activities for all students so that they know how to recognize sexual misconduct, report it, and intervene safely as a bystander where appropriate. They are engaging in other efforts to increase student awareness and assess students' knowledge of sexual misconduct, including through annual campus climate surveys. They've been improving their practices for handling reports, including providing guidance to mandatory reporters, strengthening oversight and coordinating response across the relevant university and community responders, including the UMPD and the MPD. And they've entered into an MOU with the Missoula Police Department to strengthen and help sustain both agencies' efforts to prevent and effectively respond to sexual assault using a fair, victim-centered, trauma-informed approach. There is still work to be done, but we appreciate President Engstrom's leadership and the campus police officers who have really demonstrated such dedication to improving public safety on the UM campus while in the national spotlight. We feel confident that the university, including its campus police, will also successfully achieve compliance with the DOJ agreement, and we will continue to work cooperatively with the university as it implements the agreement and continues to strengthen its response to sexual assault and harassment. I want to highlight that a common critical factor to all of the progress that we've seen across the different agencies and agreements is the meaningful engagement of the community. The community provided critical input at every stage of the work. We will need them to continue to do so. They provided it during the investigation, during the development of the agreement, and now during the implementation of the agreement. And under all of the agreements, the entities involved have agreed to establish sustainable mechanisms to allow for input from key stakeholders about their practices and procedures. For example, the university has agreed to conduct an annual assessment of the effectiveness of its reforms and to consider any recommendations from community members, parents, and law enforcement upon sharing information gathered for the annual assessment of with such stakeholders. And the agreements with the UMPD, the Missoula Police Department, and the county attorney require these entities to work with community-based organizations and other stakeholders to assist in developing and implementing the reforms. So finally, to the entire Missoula community, we thank you for your support for this collective work, this groundbreaking work to chart a new path forward. It is work that we will be holding up for the rest of the country as communities around the country are struggling with these same issues. And through your acceptance of this challenge and through your engagement with law enforcement and the university, Missoula has really demonstrated to your daughters and sons, as well as to communities across the country, that we all have a role to play in ensuring a fair and effective law enforcement response to sexual assault. And when we each fulfill that role, we really truly can succeed in making our communities safe and supportive for all. So thank you.
And thank you very much. My name is John Engen. I serve as the mayor of the city of Missoula, and I want to thank Assistant Attorney General Gupta for being here, as well as U.S. Attorney Cotter. We appreciate their taking the time to be here, and we appreciate the leadership and respect that they've shown for the city of Missoula and the work that we've done here. Fundamentally, this is not an end, and while we announce the fact that we have completed the terms of an agreement, the fact is that today I think this is a beginning for the city of Missoula and for all of our partners, and we will continue to be committed to serving the men and women of our community day in and day out. It is easy, as we read the headlines that pop up on our various feeds daily about police departments around the country, to forget that we are in the business of first serving and protecting. And the terms of this agreement and the outcome of our efforts are all about serving and protecting. And the folks who serve in this police department, the folks who support them as fellow employees of the city of Missoula, the folks who support them as advocates, as attorneys, as citizens, all recognize that we work for the people, and the people have expectations. And what we have done, I hope here, is do our best to meet those expectations, to rise to the occasion and do what we said we'd do when we swore to protect and defend the Constitution, when we swore that we would temper human suffering wherever we could. At the bottom of every one of these statistics is a human life, a real person who has suffered unnecessarily and should never suffer again at the hands of the people charged with taking care of them. This agreement gets us a long way down the road to ensuring that no one will suffer unnecessarily again. The other piece of business that's interesting here is that I often have people remind me that they wouldn't have my job for all the tea in China. Well, I tell you what, I love being the mayor of the city of Missoula, and whether you're the mayor of the city of Missoula or Boston or Ferguson or New York or you name the city, mayors don't do the job because they hate the places they live. They do the job because they love the places they live, they believe in the places they live, and they believe in service. And what we have done here in Missoula, I think, is on a scale. Most problems, whether in Missoula, Montana, or in Manhattan, are scalable, right? So what we've done here can translate to other places all day long. What we've done here can help people in cities just like ours around the country where we have yet to publicly identify what has to be a problem in those communities too, what has to be a challenge in those communities too. So Missoula, Montana, by virtue of our relationships with the University of Montana, our relationships with Missoula County, our relationships with the Department of Justice, our relationships with all the folks who make a difference here, can be a model for other communities who want to do better, because I think fundamentally they all want to do better. So today we begin anew, and we continue to improve. And I know that the women and men of the Missoula Police Department get up every morning wanting to do just a little bit better. This is a tool that helps them do that, and we'll continue to do that for as long as we can. Thank you so much for being here. Again, thank you for your leadership and help. We appreciate it, and we hope to continue to serve not only the citizens of Missoula, but anyone who needs our help.
Thank you. I'm Mike Brady, the Chief of Police. Thanks to all of you for being here. Today is one of those days where it's a proud moment for me to be the chief representing the 130 members of our department who have done everything that they can do to bring this response and our improvement to this response. And Captain Collier has been the instrumental person within our department to ensure that we're here today. We have been working to improve our response to sexual assault for nearly 3 years, entering into an agreement with the U.S. DOJ in May of 2013. During that time, we have developed policies and protocols modeled after recommendations from the International Associations of Chiefs of Police. These guidelines provide direction for first responders and detectives handling these cases. Sex assault response training has been instrumental in guiding our officers in a consistent professional manner. MPD has completed over 3,800 hours of training in sexual assault response, investigation, supervision, and documentation in the last 2 years. Initial first responder training was provided in 2013, followed by the investigations classes. In addition, 2 advanced trainings were offered: DNA and sexual assault investigations, and forensic experiential trauma interviewing. We have also implemented online trainings through Ending Violence Against Women International, which will continue with ongoing sections for several years. All newly hired officers will receive specific training in sexual response, investigation, policy, and SOP. Supervisors have received additional training specific to close supervision during the response to sexual assault, report review, and management. The analysis of MPD data shows over 80% of the victims were assaulted by a non-stranger. The training and development of skills related to non-stranger and alcohol and drug facilitated sexual assault investigations was also a critical area of progress made. Through enhanced policy, SOP, training, and oversight, the MPD is able to ensure victim-centered investigations. MPD now has investigators assigned to these cases specifically through the development of a sex and violent crimes unit. This unit also has an in-house advocate, which allows for seamless access to victim services and a coordinated response between law enforcement, prosecution, and advocacy. The MPD has stressed the importance of providing access to and encouraging use of medical services in coordination with St. Patrick's Hospital First Step facilities. Victims suffering from traumatic events are now able to be interviewed in more accommodating soft rooms at the police department or at the Crime Victim Advocate's office. In conjunction with the University of Montana Department of Sociology, 2 surveys have been developed. One to advocates and one to victims, which were developed to meet institutional review board standards at the university. These surveys are administered by advocates in an attempt to not interfere with the victim's recovery. MPD has entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Missoula County Attorney's Office to enhance collaboration and communication in the investigation and prosecution of sex offenses. Weekly meetings with staff are occurring, and the Missoula County Attorney staff is available every day in the morning as investigators need to meet with them. An SOP has been established to ensure after-hours contact with the County Attorney's Office to better facilitate coordination in felony persons crimes, including sexual assault. Referral of cases to the County Attorney now include timelines, written explanation of charging decisions, and routine discussions with all involved. We also have improved collaboration and communication with UMPD. I meet weekly with the University Police Chief to discuss issues related to these cases. Included in these meetings are other staff members supervising our response to sexual assault, ensuring that we have a collaborative effort to create a safe student community. We share daily briefing information and communicate immediately in cases relevant to our organizations. We share training opportunities and collaborated with each other on our department's policies related to cases, which we share for further investigation. The University Police and MPD have received the same trainings for first responders, advanced interviewing, and additional trainings from advocacy through SARC, the YWCA, City County Crime Victim Advocates Office, and the St. Pat's First Step program. In March of 2014, MPD began evaluating data, and Captain Collier has created 2 reports to highlight goals from our agreement. The reports include data on rates of sexual victimization in Missoula, and then tracking reports through their outcomes in the court system. MPD also tracks the number of cases referred to us by other jurisdictions and the number of times MPD transports victims for a forensic exam. MPD has had an increase of over 50% in reporting sexual assaults from 2012 to 2014. MPD has had a reduction of 16% in cases ending with victim discontinuing the investigation. MPD has developed a panel of 4 professionals from outside our agency to make up the external review panel. This panel has reviewed every adult felony sexual assault case during this agreement, including cases generated by UMPD and later transferred to the MPD. The panel received training from nationally recognized trainer and facilitator. They review MPD and UMPD cases for comprehensiveness and possible indicators of bias. The ERP uses a color coding system to evaluate the cases, of which green rating is the highest. Between 2013 and 15, the MPD has had an increase of 26% in green cases. The Safety and Accountability Audit was released May 1st, 2015. The audit team recognized ways to continue our community's response, as well as our community's strengths in responding to sexual assault. The Just Response Advisory Board has reviewed the audit report and strongly supports the implementation of the audit recommendations. The Safety and Accountability Audit can be found on our website, and that report includes the above-mentioned data analysis. The MPD will continue with its efforts to work with all our community partners in the response to sexual assault. The agreement with the U.S. DOJ has been a tool in which to build from, and we will continue to do just that as we respond.
Good morning. I'm Royce Engstrom, President of the University of Montana. Thank you, Mayor Engen, for inviting me to be a part of today's announcement. I offer you my congratulations on the City of Missoula reaching the full compliance with the Department of Justice. I know for a fact that you personally, Mr. Mayor, Chief Brady, and Captain Collier, and so many others within the city have worked tirelessly this past 2 years, and even before that, to address the issue of sexual assault in our community. You entered into this agreement with the Department of Justice with the determination to improve the safety of our community, and with your tangible actions that you just heard, you've done exactly that. This community, meaning the University of Montana campus and all of Missoula, have come together to work to protect our citizens from sexual assault. The fact that the head of the Civil Rights Division, Vanita Gupta, and U.S. Attorney Mike Cotter are here in person sends a strong dual message. You send a strong message that sexual assault will not be tolerated in our communities, but at the same time you send a message that you will work closely with our communities to address this aspect of our society. Thank you for being here in person. And Assistant Attorney General Gupta, thank you for your words of encouragement 2 weeks ago when we were able to meet in your office in Washington, D.C. In the wake of recent attention to our community, let's remember what makes Missoula distinctive. First, we have one of the strongest university-community relationships of anywhere in the United States. I'm convinced of that. We have a population that is engaged, dedicated, and committed to making our home as safe and inspiring as possible. We have a community of people willing to tackle the toughest of issues, and we do that. At the university, we're working diligently on our own agreements with the Department of Justice, and in our case, also the Department of Education. We know our deadlines, and we're working hard to meet them. Our agreements focus heavily on education and training of our students, our employees, and our police department. Much of that training has been done in collaboration with the Missoula Police Department, and interaction between the two has never been stronger. Under the leadership of Chief Marty Ludeman here in the audience, a man with extensive experience with the Missoula PD as well, our officers have completed over 900 hours of training. In addition, we've revised policies and procedures. We've adjusted staffing levels in key areas of campus. We've improved our confidential care system. We've made reporting methods more clear, and we've clarified the adjudication process, and we're analyzing our results in a constant feedback mode. Please understand that the end of any of these agreements does not indicate an end to the important work that's been done over these past 2 years. Instead, UM and its Missoula partners have in place an excellent model for addressing sexual assault, and we will continue to work together and implement the practices for our community. From the beginning, I've emphasized 3 goals: to care for the survivors of sexual assault, to use due process to remove proven offenders from our university, and to prevent sexual assault from happening in the first place. So many members of our university and our Missoula community have dedicated themselves to these goals. We know that we're not the only community to experience serious problems with sexual assault. We are in the spotlight as much as just about any community, and we will meet our legal, ethical, and humanitarian responsibilities. We couldn't ask for better community partners, partners with whom we continue to work day in and day out on this critical issue. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your leadership, your personal commitment, and for allowing me to be a part of today's announcement.
We have a lot of press. We have press here in the room. We also have press that has dialed in or called in. And so I think what we can do is we can spend a few minutes here, 15 minutes perhaps, or perhaps a little bit longer, to take questions from the press. And I think to accommodate the folks and to have some semblance of order, we'll start with those who are in the room first. And when you have a question, please identify yourself, the agency that you are with, and we will then turn to the phone, and I'm sure there will be questions there as well. So, first question, Edward.
My name is Edward Ryan, and I work with Montana. And if I've missed something very obvious, I'm sorry. So we have the agreement with the city, that's all taken care of. We're still now working with the University of Montana, and are there two other goals or agreements that have yet to be accomplished?
Sure. So we have 4 agreements. Today we're announcing that the agreement with the Missoula Police Department is complete. We have 2 other agreements that relate to the university and the university police department, and then we have the agreement with the county attorney. These were each, just so everyone is clear, were sequenced differently. The agreements were not reached all on the same day, so part of that is driving the timeline here.
For the city, how will you continue to inform the public of your response to this issue?
As we have, we'll continue to post any related materials on the website. There will be this sustainment plan that Captain Collier prepared will be available after the final report from Mr. Tremblay.
You talked about a lot of the improvements that have taken place, not to put a price on the security of these women and making sure these investigations are done properly, but is this expensive? What does it cost?
There is a cost to it. There's a cost in operations. There's a cost in oversight. There's a cost in not just our agency, but in all the agencies affected. I don't have a number on that. The departments the city departments as well as our member agencies are committed to an ongoing effort to sustain this level of compliance.
Where does the funding come from, whatever that number is? Do you know the number?
I do not know the number off the top of my head. It is It is a substantial amount of funding that's come out of the police department's budget for our part of it.
Does that adversely affect other operations?
At this point, it has not. We also were able to have the support of the mayor and administrative staff to increase the number of detectives responsible for these types of investigations.
Question for Mr. Dennis Bragg, Stevie. Question for Mr. Cotter or Ms. Gupta. What kind of, once these agreements, we talked about the 1 out of the 4 being done today, what kind of mechanisms are in place or would be used to sort of circle back and make sure that, you know, these have actually continued to be accomplished and that these accomplishments don't just go onto a shelf somewhere?
I can start, Mike, if you want to add. You know, so the chief just spoke about kind of ongoing community communication, but in the agreement, built into the agreement, is sustained community engagement, both through the external review panel, the community audits that are being conducted, and these are ways in which we will continue to monitor and hear about the progress or any kind of problems and scaling back. And so, you know, the goal with all of our agreements for the Department of Justice around the country is that we want to see sustained reform, and the sustaining of the reforms is, you know, really usually predicated upon ongoing community engagement and involvement. And here in this agreement, in the work that we set forth and that the MPD has really taken forth, is that there is significant continued engagement through the external review process, through the community audit, by which we will continue to be able to monitor progress.
So is there a point where DOJ would detach and say, job well done? I mean, is there any kind
Well,
of...
we're saying job well done today for the MPD.
A complete move on to another community or, you know, those kinds of...
Yeah, I mean, so right now we will continue to be engaged as to the other components of this. We will continue to hear about what's happening through the efforts that the MPD has undertaken. But essentially today we are saying that they have reached substantial compliance, and so we are marking today for that reason.
Oh, no, I think,
I guess that's my question, because I've heard a lot of discussion of people saying, you know, how long does this relationship go on? Is there a, you know, is it 5 years? Is it 10? Is there any kind of horizon, or is it based more on the progress of saying, we're done with this, move on to the next challenge?
it's based upon progress. And the Department of Justice stays no longer than it is needed, not 1 day longer. And this marks a great day for the Missoula Police Department. And the work that had been done by these leaders, by these folks, and as well as the entire community, who has, everybody rolled up their sleeves to address an issue. And I think today is a great day, and we need to be looking forward. And I think it's a tremendous opportunity, and I do believe that Missoula will be held up as a model for the rest of the nation to emulate and to follow.
So Dennis, the only thing I would add is that the agreement really makes what we're doing here systemic. So there's really not, we don't have an opportunity to backslide. What we've done is build a program around what ended up being a complex but fairly elegant document that really requires us to constantly evaluate, constantly move forward. And I think there might be some lessons for us to learn in other operations, not just in police, but in other municipal operations.
So that's a local framework that continues to...
Absolutely. And the other piece here is that we have a community that has high expectations. And it doesn't matter whether I'm the mayor or Mike Brady is police chief or Mike Collier is captain of detectives, or whether Marilyn Marler is the council president, there will be an expectation that the city of Missoula is the best at this and that we take care of people. And we've had tremendous support from the city council as well. There are 12 folks who have been very interested in this process and ensuring that we're stepping up.
I think what we'll do is turn to the telephone. And do we have any questions from the field? And if you would please identify yourself and the organization that you belong to, it would be greatly appreciated.
is Matt Voles from the Associated Press. Thank you for the opportunity. I was wondering if you would be able to provide an update on the status of the agreement with the Missoula County Attorney's Office, and I was wondering if their absence there today is a sign of some continued resistance or reluctance in working with you.
Thanks for the question and for joining the conference. So as you know, the agreement with the county attorney was reached. It was the last agreement to be reached. It's less than a year old. Our goal at the Department of Justice in this intervention was really to focus on working through the problems of reporting, investigation, and prosecution of sexual assaults in the community. We are very satisfied with the progress that's been made on the first two prongs through the reporting and investigation. We are now able to move and focus on the prosecution piece of this. We are eager to work with the county attorney and with the state's attorney that has oversight over the county attorney to really address some of the problems that we documented in the prosecution phase of this, and we're looking forward to being able to make very substantial progress in the coming months with the county attorney. We know that there still remains a fair bit of work to do on that side.
Just as a follow-up, you noted that there's been an increase in rape reports to city police, as that's a reflection of the confidence of sexual assault victims in the police. Has there been a corresponding increase in the rate of prosecutions as a result of those increased reports?
We have not as yet documented an increase in that rate. That is something that we are very mindful of, and that is something that is going to be an area of our focus in the coming months ahead.
And just one more, if nobody else has one. The timing of this news conference comes a couple of weeks after the release of John Krakauer's book on the Missoula rapes. Is that timing coincidental, or is this news conference in some way trying to blunt the effects of that book, the criticism that it's raised with this release?
No, it is not consequential. And what it is there, the agreement that was entered into between the Department of Justice and the City of Missoula is due to expire on May 15th, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. So this was actually a coincidence. The May 15th agreement, most of our agreements have some kind of generalized time frame around when we seek to take stock of where we are. May 15th was written into that agreement. It turns out that May 15th was, several weeks after the publication of that book, but that timing is coincidental.
And the fact is the City of Missoula and the Missoula Police Department has made great progress during this time frame to be where they are today.
Yeah, thank you.
So my name is Don Fisher. I'm with KPAX. In the future, is there a possibility if some of these new protocols, some of these new things are not working as planned, can they be changed? And if so, how can they be changed, and how, I guess?
We continue to evaluate policy in all areas of police work yearly. We will also work with our community partners and the county attorney on making sure that as we continue to develop, we change policy as needed and we change our procedures as needed. We're early in the stages as they talked earlier about the agreement with the county attorney. So that's a very frequent collaborative response, and we work daily with them on that.
And one more thing for you, if you don't mind. Going forward, what's kind of the next step for you guys? Just is there any comment you have towards that? What's next for you guys as a department?
We will maintain what we've accomplished, and the concerns that are more, I'm concerned more about the individuals working these cases, not only investigators, but the prosecutors and the advocates, and the burnout factor that plays into that. And so that's one of those things that we have to look at in the future.
one more for you. When we had the press conference and this was announced 2 years ago, I can remember a lot of the emphasis that you have placed in maybe President Engstrom's comments on this, of getting this framework, that could be done. As we've gone through, have there been any surprises as you kind of work that mechanism out, or has that pretty well gone and come up with the kind of tools that you were looking for 2 years ago?
Well, I think that the work together is there is a framework that has been established and will be established, and that I don't think there have been surprises. Do you think so, Royce? No, I think we've worked really extremely well together, seamlessly to get it right, and that has been the goal, and it is certainly attainable. And once it's attained, it will be sustained. That's critical. Thanks. Go ahead.
I might just add to that. I think from the beginning we had a very good idea of what we needed to put in place, what we needed to strengthen. The agreements with the Department of Justice and in our case, the Department of Education, really helped to bring focus into those tasks before us, to bring deadlines and milestones along the way. And I have to say that the interaction with the Department of Justice in these 2 years has been excellent. They've been willing to engage with us, so when we have questions, we've been able to go to them and get those questions answered, and likewise when they've had things that they wanted to communicate with us, we've had very good dialogue along the way, and I think that eliminates or at least minimizes the opportunity for surprises.
How much interaction do you have?
Let's have one last question.
Okay.
You have.
How much interaction maybe you could describe with your other fellow educators of the universities? How, over this period of time, are they fairly in contact with you? How much are they watching what's going on here?
Clearly, the higher education community in the United States is focused on the issue of sexual assault. I mean, there have been many, many instances around the country, and I believe now between the Department of Justice and the Department of Education, they're working with over 100 schools at this point. And so there is a great deal of discussion about this topic. Whenever we go to one of our professional meetings these days, there are sessions on the topic of sexual assault on college campuses. So it's an issue of high dialogue among university presidents.
Well, thank you very much all for coming and participating in this event. And thank you, Mayor Engen, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Chief. Yep. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.